Okay, sorry for the delay. I got kicked off a couple of times, I guess, but we're live now. So, hi, my name is Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. This series or this segment of videos that we're sharing are designed to be focused on breaking down poses very intentionally, where we look at something in particular like sciatica, and we add ways to incorporate movements without props, with yoga blocks, with yoga triangles, and give you lots of options for um, ways to explore your practice, creative ways to explore your practice. Um, let this serve as a disclaimer that this is actually a fairly sequenced series that I put together for you this evening, with sciatica and with sciatic nerve pain. It's very good to be intentional about the movements that you're doing. So I have put together 4 movements in total, and we'll be going over um, some very, very helpful ways to decompress the sciatic nerve. So I'm going to help get my buddy here in his meditation cushion. He's probably going to interrupt us a few times, maybe not. And if you have any comments, feel free to pop them in the feed. And otherwise, all you need for this practice is a place to practice. So I'm in my yoga room, and I have some blocks, some yoga triangles, and a mat. Sciatica is a painful condition that can affect a lot of people, large portion of the population, and it's also worth noting that I'm not a doctor. Definitely, if you have something that is long term and your practice isn't reconciling or alleviating your pain, please seek professional medical advice always. And don't let this just be a substitute for talking with professionals and getting the information you need to alleviate your pain. But I think that you will find, if you have just like regular sciatica from sitting or standing, or being stuck in a plane, or not getting enough movement in the hips and the lower part of your back, that this series will be a lovely series for you. So we'll go ahead and get started today. I'm going to take you through the first pose that we're going to do is an extended leg spinal twist. And this is a really great variation that you can do even first thing in the morning when you get up. So extended leg spinal twist without props first. So you can extend the legs, make sure that you've got good connection where you're sitting, bend one leg, draw it up towards you. You can grab a hold of the knee if this is available to you. The foot doesn't have to be anywhere other than connected with the ground. And your other option is to cross the leg over. I'm going to start with keeping my foot in this position. And I like doing twisting in this pose 2 ways. So first variation, you'll bring your hand to behind you, close to the base of your spine. So like right back here, close to the tailbone. Extend the arm, elongate the spine. Take your other arm, bring it to the inside of your knee, and start to twist and look over the shoulder. Notice if you're collapsing forward, keep the spine extended. While you're here, breathe. On the exhale, you might notice that you can twist a little further. Good. From here, you can lift and cross the leg over. And we're twisting the other way now. And I found that this soft twist into the open side of the leg first makes this deeper twist a little easier. So same good posture here, right? Long spine. Your hand comes to behind you, again, close to the base of the spine, extended. Reach the arm up, cross the elbow over past the knee. Arm placement is not terribly important, but your foot placement is important. So if you don't have a good footing here, anchor the foot. You should also be able to push your where you're sitting down into the ground so you can lift up and out of the spine. As you exhale, you might be able to twist a little deeper. And release. Extend the leg out and switch sides. So we'll bend the other leg. Take your arm to behind you, close to the base of the spine. Other arm crosses over. Again, this foot, you may hear varying specificity of placement. What's important is that you can get long through the spine. So if you can't press down through your foot and anchor through your backside, then you need to move the foot to where you can get that extension. This is what we need to lift up and out of the spine and activate those muscles. So exhale into the twist. Keep the spine long. Cross the leg over. Take your hand again behind you, close to the base of the spine. Bring your arm across the opposite side of the body and exhale into the twist. All right, so this is this pose without any props. What does it look like with a block? The block can go behind the knee. The block can go under the foot. Just depends on if you feel like you have any parts of your body that are lifting. So I'm going to place the block behind the knee. Worth mentioning that the block has 3 settings. This is the lowest setting, medium, and tallest. So most of us are going to be on the lowest or the medium setting. And this gives me just enough space to push down with the back of my knee and lift up. And additionally, my foot is hugging the block, which allows me to elongate through the spine. So same thing here, elbow inside of the knee, arm close to the base of the spine, exhale into the twist. Cross the leg over, same thing other side. Push the knee down, hand close to the base of the spine, exhale into the twist. So what are we trying to do here? Well, we're trying to access the muscles around the hips that get restricted, that pull on the sciatic nerve. And there's a number of ways to do this. So we're just approaching them in a very intentional manner with this sequence. Using triangles for this variation is a lot of fun. If you haven't seen these before, they're relatively new. They're a curiosity for a lot of people. But once you realize that you can use them for pressing down or lifting up, you'll love them. So I'm going to shin this triangle under the thigh. And that gives me nice extension through the spine. I can actually feel this hip rolling down. I can push down into this knee. And here's my twist. Additionally, I can use the triangle as a braking mechanism. So if I can't get muscular engagement up the length of the leg, I can push with the ball of the foot to create that engagement in the same manner that I can push with the back of the knee. So let me cross it over here. Same. Pushing with the ball of the foot, hand close to the base of the spine, exhale, twist. All right, so extended leg twist 3 ways, working up into decompressing the sciatic nerve. The next variation we're going to go over is half shoelace. This pose is a relatively challenging pose if you have tight hips. So that's why I like starting with the half of the pose as opposed to the whole pose. So half shoelace is very similar to what we just did in extended leg forward fold. The only difference is we cross the leg over and you can float your other leg in somewhat to where you can feel good engagement from the inner thighs, and this leg presses forward. So this is half a shoelace. And you'll feel as it opens up through the back of the leg and into the sciatic nerve. If you have really tight glutes, this is also an excellent variation. So on the exhale, fold forward. On the inhale, lift up. On the exhale, fold forward. You might notice people that practice yoga have a tendency to flex the toes. Play with pointing the foot and flexing the foot, because when you point the foot, you bring engagement into the front line of the body, and when you flex the foot, you bring engagement into the back line of the body. Same thing with your other leg. Extend the legs, cross the leg over, float that leg in, fold the knee forward, exhale, hinge forward, half shoelace, inhale, lift, exhale, fold forward. Again, you can feel this one working immediately. Now with props, what would this look like with props? With a block, my first thought for half shoelace again is behind the knee. You can try different heights here. You can also place the block across the midsection in half shoelace. If you can't come that far forward, the block can serve as a space filler for you between your leg and your chest or behind the knee. Especially if the hips are really tight, elevating the knee can actually give you a lot more opening across the front of the hip line. And pro tip, you can hook your thumb to inside of your hip and roll the hip out in this variation as well. Same thing on both sides. Exhale into the forward fold. Half shoelace with triangles. Again, a creative, fun, exploratory prop to use. Same thing here when you see that the triangle can provide a feedback loop to press down into, or a tool to help lift you up or roll you over. You can explore using the triangle as a shim. So if I know that my left hip is floating up because my hip is tight, then in this variation, I would want to shim the triangle underneath the right hip or the right glutes to help push that left hip down. And in this variation, I can get a deeper forward fold. And you can see the space behind the knee is shaped like a triangle. I'll show you this view the other way. So again, triangle behind the knee. I have the landmark on the mat. The letter B is pointed toward the feet and the letter E is pointed toward the hips. And again, because this part of my glute is trying to this part of my glute is trying to lift, I can slide the triangle underneath the opposite side, and that squares the hip so that when I fold forward, I'm settling into this tight hip. Inhale, extend, exhale, fold forward. Use the breath to find space. So half shoelace 3 ways, full shoelaces, whole shoelace, whole lot of hip opening for this variation. So whole shoelaces, you'll cross one leg over. Let's take this real slow. So I'm going to face you for this one. Drop your right leg in front of you. Press the knee down. Take your left leg over your right leg. To the best of your abilities, you can fold the bottom leg in close to you and then try to drop the glutes. What you'll find in this variation when you try to drop the glutes is that one of the glutes wants to stay lifted, especially if you're really tight in the hips. So, go slowly in this variation. Don't force anything. It is helpful if you squeeze the thighs together and press the knees away from the body. You can take your fingertips to behind you to tip you deeper into the pose, or you can bring your hands in front of you and guide yourself further into full shoelaces. On the inhale, expand. On the exhale, fold. Same thing, other side. So I'll face you for this variation, crossing the left leg in front, bringing the right leg all the way over. I'm going to roll onto the outside of my hip here. There's a nice IT band and side glute release. Pull that leg in toward your backside, drop the glutes, and then shift the knees forward, full shoelaces. You can place your hands on your feet to help guide the hips open and settle the glutes further down. You can see how I'm sitting, that one of my shoulders is dropped further than the other. And this is one of the reasons why having mirrors in practice can be helpful. You might be able, to notice where your shoulders or your hips lift or lower so you can observe this. And this is helpful when you're using your props to try to bring some balance into the body. Also worth noting, some of us have unique bone structures. So even if we try to make the pose fit the body, the bone may be formed a certain way, and forcing it is not necessarily a good thing. On the exhale, we fold forward. And again, you can feel this almost immediately opening up through the small part of your back. Okay. So that's a pretty tough pose. Give yourself grace. That's one of the reasons why I offered half shoelaces first. This also counts. Like if this is as far as you're comfortable in this pose, this is fine. And I'm saying this because this is actually perfect and where most of us find ourselves in this pose for prop utilization. So that space between the knees where your knees are not coming to the ground, you can put a block in there and fold forward. Blocks are great for this. I've got my block on the second highest height. I can take it up onto the third highest height, or I can drop it all the way down to the lowest height. Same thing, both sides. I'm going a little over on this variation today, so I hope you guys don't mind. I try to keep these videos under 20 minutes, but we have one last variation to do after this, and the last variation I think is going to be the most valuable for those of us that experience chronic sciatica nerve pain. So how do we do shoelaces with the triangle? Same thing here. I can slide the triangles into where I feel those gaps. So I've got one under the thigh and one behind the sits bone in this variation. And this allows me to tilt my tailbone forward and press my hips down. And it just feels solid. Here's another view. Let me switch my legs so you can see it the other way. Just had to shim that prop in there, and I come forward. And it fits under the glute. I've got my balance landmark on the mat. Okay, last thing, hip floss. So decompressing the nerve. I went down a rabbit hole today, and there's a lot of options for decompression, but one of the best ways that you can decompress the sciatic nerve is just elongating the tissue that feeds into the hip socket. So hip floss, there's a lot of ways to do hip floss. Cradle the baby is one really good way to do hip floss. So you'll just lift the hip up, hold onto the foot, and move the hip from side to side. You can bring the foot up or down, really whatever works best for you. If you want to add a block here, you can bring the block to underneath the glute and you can move the tight glute tissue over the block like a foam roller. And this is my personal preference. You take the point of the triangle and you place it under the glute and you do the same thing. If you feel like you can't get comfortable here, you can shim the triangle in that space as well. Same thing, both sides. So We're just turning. I'll give you a side view here. I'm just trying to mobilize the top of the hip here. And this is an external rotation of the hip bone. So really, ultimately, what you're trying to do is just turn the bone out, turn the bone out. And while you're turning the bone out, you're moving all of this tight tissue that's wrapped up back in the piriformis and around the glute. Same thing, I can put a block back here. Oh gosh, you know, another lovely variation is a tune-up ball, a tennis ball, a golf ball. I can use the triangle similar to the block. I can use the angle side of the triangle. So it doesn't move as much. I can roll from side to side or from front to back. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful. Sciatica is a very unpleasant experience. We all experience it at some point in our lives. So please, please, please take care of your hips and your low back. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Keep on checking back for more Saturdays. We do a live stream at 9 a.m. as well. Actually, it's pre-recorded. It'll usually go up around 10. And I welcome your questions and your feedback. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good rest of the day.